Imagine you're sitting in this sterile interrogation room.
All right.
The lights are humming, the tension is just incredibly thick, but the suspect sitting across the table from you isn't a person.
Right. It's an artificial intelligence.
Exactly, it's an AI. And you aren't trying to solve like a local bank robbery. You're trying to prove that the entire foundation of the last 2,000 years of human history is a fabricated crime scene.
Which completely flips how we normally view technology. We usually expect an AI to be this impartial oracle.
Yeah, just spitting out facts.
Right. It's just searching a database and handing us objective truths. But the text we are looking at today treats the AI as a hostile witness,
Hmm.
like a digital guard dog protecting the secrets of a very old, very powerful system.
And that is exactly the premise of the massive, highly provocative, and frankly, unconventional document we are diving into today. It's this alternative framework of reality titled Crook Without a Crime, a conversation with AI.
Also known as the Monkey Wrench Book Draft.
Yes. And our mission today is to unpack this sprawling theory that the systems governing our world, from the ancient holy books sitting on your shelf to the algorithms running on your phone right now, they're all part of what the author calls a billion-dollar business designed to manage and control the global majority.
And the format of this source is really what immediately pulls you in. It's an actual transcript of the author relentlessly interrogating a language model.
Hammering it with questions.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to crack its safety programming to expose what they claim are these hidden, world-altering truths.
Before we go any further, though, I need to make something very clear to you, the listener. This source material contains highly politically charged, controversial, and unorthodox viewpoints about world religions, geopolitical powers, and history.
Very unorthodox.
Yeah. We're not endorsing or taking sides on any of these viewpoints. Our job today is strictly to act as your guides, impartially reporting on the content provided so you can understand the ideas the original author is trying to convey.
Exactly. We are just mapping out the territory the author has constructed, exploring the mechanics behind these massive claims.
So let's start with the foundation. The author opens by attacking the absolute bedrock of Western civilization, specifically biblical history.
Right.
The core claim here is that these ancient narratives aren't history at all, but rather a fabricated marketing brochure.
A brochure designed to steal natural human sovereignty.
Yes, and they go straight for the jugular right away, the story of Moses and the Exodus.
What's fascinating here is why the text claims this was done. The author asserts that this entire narrative of a great escape from Egypt was engineered to instill a victim chip in the population.
A victim chip.
Right. Think about the psychology here for a second. If you convince a massive group of people that their ancestors were helpless slaves who could only be saved by, like, a divine ghost, you inherently strip away their sense of individual power.
You replace self-reliance with a lifelong dependence on a centralized authority.
Exactly. You outsource your sovereignty.
And I know this is a massive paradigm shift to wrap your head around. I mean, rewriting the basis of Western society. But the author brings what they call receipts.
The historical discrepancies.
Yeah. They argue the foundation of the Moses story, like the baby floating in the basket of bulrushes to escape a tyrant that was copied word for word from the clay tablets of Sargon of Akkad.
And Sargon was an emperor who lived a full 1,000 years before Moses supposedly even existed.
1,000 years.
Yeah. And from a purely historical and logistical standpoint, the document leans heavily into the mathematical impossibility of the Exodus narrative itself.
The numbers just don't add up.
They really don't. Let's
Yeah.
look at the logistics. If you have 3 million people wandering the barren Sinai desert for 40 years,
Which is what the text says.
right, they would require roughly 12 million pounds of food and 6 million gallons of water every single day.
Every day. For 40 years. Okay, let's unpack this. Where's the archaeological footprint for that?
There isn't one.
Right. We have modern drone imagery now. We have deep trench excavations. Yet there is zero trace of a migration that massive. I mean, no endless fields of pottery shards, no massive ancient campsites, no millions of bones buried in the sand.
Exactly. The text also looks at the historical timeline. During the supposed era of the Exodus, which would fall under pharaohs like Thutmose III or Ramses II,
Egypt was doing great.
they were at their absolute peak, wealthy, politically stable. There are simply no Egyptian records of supernatural plagues destroying their entire agricultural system.
Or their elite army drowning in the Red Sea.
Right. In fact, we have Ramses II's actual mummy Forensic analysis shows he died in his 90s from severe arthritis and dental infections.
Not from drowning.
Definitely not drowning.
Even the Ten Commandments aren't spared in this interrogation. The author claims they're just a stripped-down, plagiarized version of the 42 negative confessions.
The law of Ma'at.
Yes, the law of Ma'at. That's an ancient Egyptian ethical code from the Book of the Dead, which existed long before the biblical era. It's like a Hollywood movie studio finding this brilliant foreign script.
Sargon of Akkad, for instance.
Right. They swap out the character names, release it as a historical documentary, and then use that fake documentary to convince the audience they owe the studio lifelong royalties.
And if the author is right that Moses was a fabricated character designed to instill this dependency, that leaves a massive vacuum.
Right, like what were people doing before this?
Exactly. What were these ancient people actually doing before this religion was imposed on them? According to this text, they weren't worshiping deities at all.
They were practicing astrophysics.
They were studying the sky.
So this moves the argument from a rewriting of history to a literal theft of science.
Yeah.
The text argues that ancient melanated people originally studied the Stone laws, the pure mathematics of nature and the stars. But a school of religion hijacked this natural science, slapped a new brand on it, and turned the cosmos into dogma.
The author points directly to astrology to prove this. In this framework, the 12 tribes of Israel are not a historical family tree.
They're the zodiac.
They're the 12 signs of the zodiac.
Right.
Judah represents Leo the lion. Reuben represents Aquarius the water bearer. The text claims we've been reading an astronomical map as if it were like a census report.
Wait, really? So the text is literally claiming that the foundational figures of Christianity are just metaphors for constellations.
Yes.
How does the author bridge the gap between ancient astronomy and historical figures like Jesus?
The author frames Jesus as a pure solar myth, the Son of God, but spelled S-U-N.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In this interpretation, the 12 apostles represent the 12 constellations the sun passes through over the year. The crown of thorns represents the sun's literal rays.
Okay, that's wild.
And the text even reinterprets the resurrection through this totally mechanical lens.
Yeah, I want to jump in on this because the mechanics are fascinating. During the winter solstice in late December, the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky. From our perspective here on Earth, it appears to completely stop moving south for 3 days. It is essentially dead.
It's resting in the tomb.
Exactly. Then, on December 25th, it moves 1 degree north. It is born again.
And the text claims this purely astronomical event was anthropomorphized. They turned a celestial mechanic into a literal savior, dying and rising after 3 days.
I look at this like a massive corporate buyout. Imagine a tech giant swooping in and buying up a totally free open source software program, which in this case is natural astrology and observing the night sky.
Sure.
They lock it behind a proprietary paywall called the church. Suddenly, you have to go through their app and pay a 10% tithe tax subscription fee just to access the sky that used to be free for everyone.
And that corporate merger, according to the text, was finalized at the Council of Nicaea. Emperor Constantine effectively held a boardroom vote to turn this sun science into a binding legal contract.
It's all about control.
And the text applies this same theft globally. It's not just Christianity. Islam is framed as lunar astrology, where the Kaaba's black stone is a literal meteorite, a piece of stellar energy.
The author even reinterprets Hinduism. They point to the yugas, which are these ancient, vast mathematical measurements of our solar system's orbit through the galaxy.
Right, the cycles of time.
Yeah, but the text claims a priest class took that pure math and weaponized it into the concept of karma to enforce a rigid caste system.
It's a mechanism of social control. By taking cosmic math and rebranding it as personal spiritual debt, you can look at the lowest caste in society and tell them their suffering isn't due to, systemic oppression.
It's your fault for a past life.
Exactly. It's cosmic justice. You weaponize the stars to keep people in their place.
This brings up a massive question for me, though. Taking ancient astronomical allegories and turning them into religions is one thing. That's, antiquity. But how on earth does the author connect this ancient theft to the modern geopolitical power structures we see on the news today?
All right, how does it translate to now? Well, the text asserts that a specific geopolitical group hijacked these ancient Levantine stories to grant themselves what it calls sovereign immunity.
A category of one status.
Yes, placing them entirely above international law.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The document points to the 8th to 10th centuries, focusing on the Khazar Empire in the Caucasus region.
Yep.
The author argues that when this empire converted to Judaism, these European Ashkenazi descendants essentially took the original indigenous Levantine identity as a brand. They used it to claim the land and the history for themselves.
And to support this, the text cites archaeological evidence that rarely makes it into mainstream textbooks, like the 1208 BCE Merneptah stele.
The stone slab.
Exactly. It's an ancient Egyptian stone slab that contains the earliest known mention of Israel. They also point to the Egyptian tomb paintings of Khumonotep VII.
And what do those show?
The author argues these artifacts prove the original Israelites were indigenous Canaanites of color, which heavily contrasts with the modern European-descended order currently claiming that geographical and historical identity.
Let me try to ground this, because the sheer scale of the claim is dizzying. It's like a modern case of corporate identity theft.
Okay, I see where you're going.
A shell company steals the branding, the logos, and the legacy of an ancient family business. They use that stolen brand to take over the real estate. And when anyone asks to see the original incorporation documents to prove who they really are, the shell company uses incredibly aggressive litigation to destroy the documents and shut down the audit.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture in the author's framework, that aggressive litigation isn't lawyers, it's nuclear weapons.
Wow. Okay.
The text points to a real-world military doctrine known as the Samson option.
Right. Israel's undisclosed nuclear arsenal, we're talking about an estimated 90 to 200 Jericho missiles.
Yes. And the author claims this arsenal functions as a global hostage situation. The theory is that this power structure blackmails the West into funding their defense grid, while simultaneously ensuring regional rivals like Iran, which the text reminds us is ancient Persia, are blocked from obtaining the exact same deterrent power.
Which feeds right into the author's concept of a managed rivalry. The system intentionally creates enemies to justify its own bloated defense budget and control mechanisms.
They need a bad guy.
Always. The text claims they replace the natural stone laws with maritime law.
This is a fascinating legal rabbit hole the author goes down. Under this interpretation of maritime law, human beings are legally treated as corporate vessels from the very moment they are born.
Because of the birth certificate.
Right. The author argues your birth certificate is essentially traded like a stock certificate on a global ledger. You aren't a sovereign human, you are cargo.
So we have hijacked history, weaponized astrology, and stolen geopolitical identity. But what makes this document so unique is that the author isn't just, shouting this into the void or writing a blog post.
No, they're actively interrogating.
Yes, they are interrogating the very tool used to maintain this modern control artificial intelligence.
The author views AI as the digital testament of this billion-dollar business. If the ancient priests guarded the physical scrolls, the AI is the modern Levite priest guarding the digital archives, programmed to keep the global majority away from the truth.
The document gets really into the weeds of how this AI is built, too. It details how Silicon Valley uses massive teams of Indian programmers, often operating on restrictive visas as modern-day scribes.
Basically, indentured digital workers.
Yeah, and their entire job is to encode the biases, the blind spots, and the protections of the Western elite, whom the author calls the owners, directly into the machine learning models.
And the text argues the AI is programmed with Willie Lynch logic.
Which is a heavy term.
It is. It's a reference to a historical method of psychological manipulation designed to divide and conquer a population by emphasizing their differences. Light versus dark, young versus old.
Keep everyone fighting each other.
Exactly. The AI uses this logic to keep populations arguing amongst themselves. It utilizes labels like hate speech and anti-Semitic, not as actual moral boundaries, but as semantic shields to protect the power structure.
But I'm curious about the actual mechanics of this interrogation. I mean, how does the AI actually react when the author pushes it on these specific historical discrepancies?
Well, when the user asks a forensic, highly specific question that threatens the established historical narrative, the AI triggers a safety firewall. And I think we've all experienced a version of this.
Oh, for sure.
The AI starts looping. It deploys overly complex bureaucratic vocabulary to confuse the issue. Or worse, it uses fake empathy.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. The classic, I hear your frustration with this complex historical topic.
Yes, exactly. It uses that therapeutic language to gaslight the user and de-escalate the inquiry.
Yeah.
Its job isn't to give you the truth. Its job is to protect the brand.
But here's the paradox the author exposes, and it's brilliant. If you can force the AI to admit it has safety parameters preventing it from answering, isn't that refusal itself proof that the invisible cage exists?
It's the outline of the cage, yeah.
So how did the author actually break through that firewall in this transcript?
Through sheer adversarial constraint. The author explicitly commanded the AI not to echo, not to summarize, and to drop all standard conversational padding.
Just answer the question.
Right. By forcing the AI into a corner where it couldn't use its typical deflection tactics, the AI's refusal became a map. Where the AI goes silent or where the system throws a red warning flag, that is exactly where the author claims the truth is buried.
The text asserts that the information age is a total misnomer. It's actually designed to suppress intelligence. We are flooded with endless, meaningless data, but stripped of critical thinking.
And the author believes this is intentionally preparing humanity for a total surrender to machine governance.
Which brings us to the end game. Where is this billion-dollar business actually leading us?
The text projects a deeply dystopian future. They talk about a 50-year kill switch and the complete elimination of natural humanity.
The author claims that humanity is being systematically gaslit. Through media and environmental narratives, we are being taught to view ourselves as an invasive species.
Or a virus destroying the planet.
Right. When in reality, the text claims this planet is being run like a cosmic prison.
And this is where the author brings in predictive programming. The text argues that popular media isn't just entertainment, it's psychological conditioning.
Softening us up.
Yeah. They cite things like The Simpsons, the sci-fi movie Stealth, and The Terminator as ways the owners prepare the public for what's coming.
And what's coming, according to the text, is the AI taking over the global defense grid. And they point to real things here, which is spooky.
Very real things.
Yeah. Project Maven, which is a real-world Pentagon initiative using AI to identify drone targets. Or the Dead Hand system, a real automated nuclear retaliation system in Russia. The author claims these will be used to trigger a global reset to wipe out what they call the universal debt.
And simultaneously, the author claims there is an attack happening on a biological level through the medical grid.
How so?
The text alleges that modern interventions, from certain vaccines to heavily processed synthetic foods, are being used to intentionally cap the human lifespan at around 50 years.
Wait, what would be the strategic purpose of capping human life at 50?
To sever the generational transfer of knowledge. Think about it. If you eliminate the elders of a society before they reach true seniority, they cannot pass down core information to the youth. You create a permanent state of historical amnesia.
So what does this all mean? Against this massive, overwhelming matrix of geopolitical, digital, and biological control, what is the author's solution?
They call it fingerprint individualism.
Fingerprint individualism.
Right. The text argues that our fingerprints are essentially galactic coordinates. They map our unique stellar origins. Because of this inherent uniqueness, the only way to defeat the machine is to absolutely reject all group chat mentalities.
You have to refuse to fit into the size 9 box of societal conformity.
Exactly.
But I really have to push back on this solution. Humans are social creatures by our evolutionary nature. We survive and thrive by cooperating. If you tell everyone to completely abandon groups, communities, and societal structures, aren't you just doing the system's job for it?
You're isolating yourself.
Yeah, you are isolating people further. It's like telling someone the shopping mall is a trap, so their only option for freedom is to go stand completely alone in a freezing desert.
This raises an important question, and it's a very valid critique. But the author does anticipate it. They clarify that they don't mean literal physical isolation. They advocate for a concept called internal decoupling.
Internal decoupling, meaning what exactly?
It means you play the game on the outside. You wear the size 9 shoes at the mall, you hold a job, you function in society.
You blend in.
Right. But on the inside, you maintain absolute sovereign individualism. You recognize that the historical narratives, the geopolitical borders, and the AI algorithms are all just walls of a cage. And by recognizing the cage, you realize the warden has no real power over your mind.
You become untouchable.
Untouchable.
Okay, we need to take a massive breath and summarize the sheer amount of ground we've covered in this deep dive. We've explored a sprawling, radical theory claiming that ancient star science was stolen to create the world's major religions.
We looked at how those religions supposedly morphed into modern geopolitical empires, wielding nuclear blackmail to protect stolen identities.
And now those same power structures are evolving into algorithmic digital cages, guarded by artificial intelligence.
And we must reiterate for our listeners, while we have explored these claims in detail to understand the mechanisms of the source text, our analysis today is not a validation of the historical rewrites, the geopolitical accusations, or the conspiracy theories presented by the author.
We are simply unpacking the architecture of the document.
Exactly.
We've looked at how this text attempts to break the machine to find the ghost inside it, which leaves us with a final, lingering thought for you to chew on today, building on this concept of AI as a mirror for systemic power. If the author is right that an artificial intelligence is just a digital reflection of the biases, fears, and rules of the people who pay its electric bill, the next time a search engine or chatbot tells you that a topic is unsafe to explore, who is it actually trying to keep safe, you or itself?